Hey everyone, this is graphic designer Roberto Blake. So I think on this YouTube channel, I may have done 2 or 3 different videos on graphic design school and whether you should consider going and why and things like that and how you can learn graphic design, etc. But I want to talk about graphic design education a little more in this video, but I'm going to keep it pretty brief and cover some very specific areas. So I'm of the opinion that graphic designers can successfully be mostly self-taught, but I think that with regard to that, I would say prioritize self-learning in terms of the software skills because I don't think that you'll get a well-rounded education in terms of the software skills for Adobe Photoshop, InDesign, Illustrator, Dreamweaver, After Effects, etc. I don't think you'll really get as many of those things from a formal education class as you might think that you would, because you have to remember there's going to be like 15 or 20 other people in that class competing for the professor's time. In terms of learning a software skill, a lot of times they may not be very savvy in that particular software or not past the degree of an intermediate person already as it is. So it's not that they don't have anything to teach you, it's that there are very specific things that they just simply won't be equipped to teach you, and a lot of times they'll be directing you to tutorials or things in a book, etc. And if that's going to be the case, why would you pay hundreds or thousands of dollars for that particular class to learn the software when you could just as easily pay some online training courses for like $60, $150, whatever, or all the free stuff on YouTube to learn specific techniques as you play with the software, because the only real way to learn the software is to jump right in and to get the hang of it. So again, you can learn the software stuff from books, online video tutorials, or from other people who are using it. So just keep that in mind that you don't have to pay a lot of money to learn how to use software. Now granted, graphic design isn't all software. That's just the tools. I'm just saying that to learn how to use those tools, you shouldn't have to pay a lot of money. But the tools are only as valuable as the techniques that you apply to them. So knowing how to actually do kerning, trapping, leading, knowing CMYK, knowing color theory, learning the importance of color psychology and how that plays into buying decisions, learning Gestalt uniforming principles like positive and negative space. All those things are things that you'll learn in lectures and in graphic design courses, etc. But again, you could in theory learn these things from a book. You could buy several different books on these, or you could even read endless articles on the internet and get an understanding of them. There are plenty of different ways that you could learn that same type of information. There are plenty of lectures on YouTube where people break it down into the simplest form so you can grasp it in under 5 minutes. And I'll actually be doing some videos like that myself. So again, maybe you don't need to pay for those particular courses. Something that might be a little more difficult to teach, however, might be good communication skills. So that's why that's part of a curriculum for graphic design. They make you take public speaking courses, they make you take writing and exposition courses, because you need to be able to communicate your ideas verbally as well as visually when you're in a meeting, when you're pitching, when you're talking to clients. You need to be able to write briefs that are detailed, well organized, and easy to read. So you need to be able to have good writing skills. You need to be able to write proper emails. You need to know what the formatting and etiquette are for that. You're going to need some professional skills. You're going to need to know a little bit about business. You're going to have that business savvy, especially if you're going to be a freelancer or an entrepreneur. There's all these other things that are in your college courses besides graphic design and software classes that you do need to learn as far as your well-rounded education. With that being in mind, do you need to buy a brand name education? Do you need to go to Full Sail or the Art Institute? Those are great schools. My brother goes to the Art Institute. I recommended that he go to the Art Institute. I totally support going to college and getting the best education that you can afford. But here's the reality. A lot of people can't afford education. They're subsidizing loans that are going to be very difficult for them to pay back. And it's a real problem. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't pick up a trade skill. You should just find a way to make it affordable. And there are a lot of different pathways to graphic design education. You could do online courses through Adobe with like Adobe Total Training, and they have a lot of vendors they recommend for that. There might be some free courses at your community college. You can do an apprenticeship with a local graphic designer in your area. You can learn on the job. There's all kinds of ways that you can learn about graphic design. You can follow YouTubers like me, Howard Pinsky, Karen Cavett, and several others, and you can learn a lot more about it. Terry White has some great tutorials. Lynda.com has great tutorials. Kelby One Media has great tutorials. There's all kinds of places. I have tutorials in case you forgot, which I usually do on Thursdays. There's all kinds of ways for you to get a well-rounded graphic design education. But what I don't want you to do is feel that you don't need any college education at all, because I recommend that everybody try to get some college education, because I think there's a lot of value to it. I think it's a great networking opportunity. I think it's a great opportunity to meet different people from different walks of life that might be beneficial to you later, either in personal or professional relationships. I think it's great exposure, and I think having the option of learning things you may not learn otherwise is great. The career centers in college also have a lot of great resources to help you out with job placement, so there's definitely that advantage to it. And don't feel like you can't audit courses that have nothing to do with your career field. That's important too. Maybe you'll learn something that's useful to you in another way. Steve Jobs said in his commencement speech to Stanford that after he dropped out and he started dropping in on other courses that really influenced the direction they took Apple and the Mac, if he had never dropped in on a calligraphy course, he would have never learned about serifs and typefaces and about all these things they incorporated into the Mac, and which defined modern personal computers. And so we might have never gotten, or it might have come much later, we would have never gotten computers that have different typefaces and that put an emphasis on typography. Digital type as we know it may not even exist today if Steve Jobs hadn't dropped in on a class that had nothing to do with computers. So anyway, these are just some of my random thoughts on design education and on education, I guess, in general. So let me know what your thoughts are with regard to this. Let me know if you have any questions about the college experience or what I went through as a graphic designer when I was in school, or if there's just anything that you want to talk about and share your experience. Do all of that in the comment section below. We'll have an interesting conversation about it. Anyway, like this video if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe. Check out the other graphic design videos on the channel, tutorials on Thursdays, and as always, thanks for watching.